ಇವಾಗ ಪಾಕಿಸ್ತಾನ ಇರೋದೇ ಸಾರ್ಕಲ್ಲಿ ಇಂಡಿಯಾಗೆ ವರ್ಕ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ ಬಿಡ್ತಲ್ಲ. ಇಫ್ ಯು ಬಿಲ್ಡ್ ಚೈನಾ, ಟುಮಾರೋ ದೇರ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಅ ಗ್ರೇಟರ್ ನೆಕ್ಸಸ್ ಬಿಟ್ವೀನ್ ಚೈನಾ ಅಂಡ್ ಪಾಕಿಸ್ತಾನ್ ಇನ್ ಸಾರ್ಕ್, ಅಂಡ್ ಆಬ್ವಿಯಸ್ಲಿ ದೇ ವಿಲ್ ಕಿಕ್ ಯು ಔಟ್ ಆಫ್ only with ಸಾರ್ಕ್, ಆರ್ ದೇ ವಿಲ್ ಸೈಡ್ ಲೈನ್ ಯು along with ಸಾರ್ಕ್. Same reason why did China did not allow India to become part of NSG. ಏನಕ್ಕೆ ಚೈನಾ ಬಿಟ್ಟಿಲ್ಲ? ಅವರು ಬಿಡ್ಬೋದಾಯ್ತಲ್ಲ ನಾವು ಮೆಂಬರ್ ಆಗಿ ಪರವಾಗಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ. So why reason? Because you can't allow external powers to intervene in your regional affairs. So why the hell will you allow China to come and become part of SARC or South Asia when you know that you want to keep China at, outside South Asia? Because it is your sphere of influence. So you can't allow an outsider to come into your sphere of influence. And obviously, if China comes into SARC, there might be certain benefits. What is certain? No more funding can happen to SARC projects. Of course, now China will be able to, bring more infrastructure projects. But it will be at what cost? Obviously, they are going to not allow India's influence to be more. It is going to be China's influence is going to improve more in SARC. And obviously, tomorrow, since SARC will work on consensus, tomorrow China might block every decision what India proposes in SARC. So that is why India won't allow China to become part of SARC. That is South Asia. Okay. SCO, we have been part of SCO. Why? Because different. Russia wanted India under SCO. So China told, if you want to make India membership, then we'll propose Pakistan. And that is why they also brought Pakistan into SCO. And SCO, why both India and Pakistan important? Today SCO is looking to expand. So SARC is not looking to expand. SARC is going to deal with issues which are in South Asia. So why will you allow a country which is from East Asia to be part of South Asia, and especially a country like China, which already controls the global supply chains? So that is why India does not want to allow China into its sphere of influence. So that is why it won't allow. So no country will, for example, if you take India, we'll go and tell America, we want to be part of NAFTA, North American Free Trade Agreement. They will tell, why will you be part of NAFTA? That's a regional trade agreement what we have. So they formed that regional agreement only to keep outsiders out and to keep limit the sphere of outsiders. So you can't allow America. India has not even allowed America to be part of SARC. Even though India has good relations with America, we have not allowed America to be part of SARC, because this India wants to ensure Indian Ocean and this South Asia, it remains under India's sphere of influence, not another country which is very powerful or equivalent to India, for them to be part of it, because it will lead to competition and it will also lead to a decline of India's sphere of influence. That is why India won't allow China to become part of SARC. So the general thing, that is what we can say, that is how humans will also work, and that is how countries will also work. Maybe in future, if you take India and China's relationship improve gradually, our border issues are resolved, etc., then we can think about a greater integration. Then you can take China can be also part of South Asia. But why will now we allow China to become part of South Asia when already China is trying to make deep inroads? Then already they made deep inroads into South, like they have good relations with Sri Lanka. They have brought many countries under debt trap. So obviously now India will become overshadowed by what? Rise of China. And that is why we say, at one point of time, South Asia, in South Asia, there was only one sun around which all planets revolved. But currently a second sun is born in South Asia, that is China. And today you can say now the planets which are revolving around this sun will also start revolving around the other sun. And this will reduce your sphere of influence. And that is what India exactly does not want. And that is why India does not allow China to be part of SARC. That's the thing. But the problem is that there is every possibility that if tomorrow things, let us say, if India's influence starts coming down deeply in its own backyard, maybe possibility China will only propose a new grouping in South Asia. You're getting a point. They can only start a new organization in South Asia, which is led by China. Again, it depends upon to what extent India is able to exercise influence on its countries. Like you can't tell Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, immediately they'll go join that grouping. Why? Because they've taken economic aid from India. You're getting a point. And none of these countries share border with China. All of these countries share border with India. So that is what we say, geography cannot be changed. Why Nepal can't completely tilt into China's favor, even if they want to? The reason is that they don't have access to port, and Chinese ports are very lengthy by distances. Their only nearby access is the Indian port. Bear in mind, end of the day, Sri Lanka also cannot completely tilt towards China. They might play Chinese card. They can't completely because Sri Lanka is very closely located to India. India's Andaman, Nicobar Island, Lakshadweep all surround Sri Lanka. So that is why these countries will also not completely tilt towards China's favor. They will play the balancing card. Whenever India becomes too dominant, they'll play the China card. Or what is a guarantee tomorrow? Because already Sri Lanka is under debt trap of China. So they also know the risk of association with China. And that is what India should use to its advantage and make sure that we do influence these countries, but our influence should be also not so great or not so dominating that we drive them off towards China. And that is what currently India is trying to do also. So that is why you can say even after the Muziu government came to power, India has not stopped its aid which they're giving to Maldives. They have continued the aid to give to Maldives. And that is what we say, that to keep your neighboring countries under your influence. So that is why India will not allow China to become part of SARC, because if China is allowed to become part of SARC, then you can say India's influence within South Asia will be threatened. And India does not want South Asia. And if there is any one ocean which is named after the country, that is Indian Ocean. And that you cannot allow to become a Chinese lake, which they are already attempting to do so with increased China's acquisition of ports, what we call a string of pearls. So that is why we can't allow China.